to kick off the South Region, 1 seed Florida will play the winner of Prairie View A&M or Lehigh. Prairie View A&M, a pretty shocking run in the SWAC tournament. I think they were like the 7 seed or something like that, if not lower.
Yeah, Lehigh as well, too. Lehigh is
Yeah.
just 2 games above 500 at 18-16, but Prairie View A&M is 1 game above 500 at 18-17.
Great matchup. I mean, just a fantastic first 4 matchup right there. Regardless, we can get into it more if y'all want, but I am very comfortable taking Florida to advance to the round of 32
I'm also
as the 1 seed.
I'm fine with that. I also like to mention these are the 2 lowest teams per KenPom.
Sure.
And they are the lowest by a unbelievable.
What's the lowest? What's the number we got?
It is 68 spots.
Wow.
It separates LIU, which fins up, and Lehigh, and then 4 spots separate Prairie View and Lehigh.
Sure.
But there's 68 spots separating Lehigh and fins up the Sharks between the 16 seeds. So this is an all-time matchup.
Yeah. Well, no reason to dwell on that anymore. We can move on to the 8-9 matchup in the South region.
Shout out 9.
Shout out 9. Clemson as the 8 seed will face off against Iowa as the 9 seed. A couple big things to know here. In the ACC tournament, Clemson's starting center, Carter Welling, tore his ACL. He will obviously, as considering he tore his ACL, not be playing in the NCAA tournament. And then the big thing for Iowa is it's all about their pace they play at, and then their lead guard, Bennett Sturts. Let me find it. They have 364 in possessions per game in the country, so basically second slowest pace in the country. But they take care of the ball well. They shoot the 3 ball okay. They don't turn the ball over. Bennett Sturts is liable to play 40 minutes in this game. I went back their last regular season game. He played 45 minutes because it was an overtime game against, I believe, Illinois. But he is very likely to just as the floor general and as the engine of this team. And since they really aren't fantastic, they can't really afford to not play him. He'll probably be out there for all 40 minutes, assuming this game is close. But Iowa versus Clemson, any other stats, any other leans here?
Iowa does not beat good teams, and
Yes.
Clemson has 2 good wins, but like you said, they're without their starting center. Iowa has 1 win over a notable Big Ten team in the tournament. That's Nebraska, and they won that game at home. This is kind of a weaker of the 8-9 matchups, which is
Sure.
going to make it just that much easier, I think, for Florida to make the Sweet 16. Iowa's favored as well. This is the only higher seed to be favored at this point in the first round.
Yeah.
Which is kind of rare. Multiple years we've had. I think even last year there was an 11 seed that was favored over a 6 seed. We've seen that kind of matchup before, but this is the only higher seed to be favored in a first round matchup. Iowa's favored by 1.5 at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Iowa in this matchup. I really respect Brad Burnell as Clemson's coach. I think he's really good about doing more with less. I don't think they typically have the most talented rosters, on paper, the most elite rosters. But this is now 3 tournaments in a row.
Yeah.
1 with an Elite 8 run in there. Yes, they lost in the first round last year to McNeese, but it kind of felt like just such a freak of started off slow, couldn't hit a shot.
Yes.
Really tried to get back into it, ended up losing by 2.
It was a world-class first half. World-class bad
Yes.
first half.
So in that sense, I do almost want to pick Clemson because I really do trust him. But I really don't love the makeup of this roster, so I'll take Iowa to win and move on.
sounds good. I'll also go Iowa.
I'm thinking Iowa as well.
Sure. Moves us on to our next matchup in the South. 5 seed Vanderbilt, fresh off an SEC championship tournament game loss in the finals to Arkansas. Said that about as poorly as possible. Versus kind of recent NCAA tournament darling McNeese. Just talked about them beating Clemson last year. New head coach after Will Wade went to NC State. But they kind of surprisingly returned. I want to say they weren't even the 1 seed. Maybe they were. They went 28-5. So they had
They returned also Amir
Aura Khan.
No Aura Khan.
Didn't he return like mid-season? Like he just
did.
kind of reappeared. Did he?
Yes.
So they did like his first semester at NC State, and then was like,
Yes.
yeah, never mind. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what the truth is. I saw someone who say that he transferred and then realized that his credits from McNeese wouldn't transfer over, so he transferred back to get his degree. And they were like, "Well, like stop dogging the kid. He's just trying to get his degree." I don't know or care.
I do agree. I think it's time. Like he deserves to be someone that has like a one-tourney lifespan.
Yeah.
You do not get a
Yes.
multi-tourney lifespan as Amir or Khan. McNeese is led by Larry Johnson, averaging 17.5 points a game. That being said, I do think this Vanderbilt team is very good, and they counter the way McNeese plays. McNeese likes to get physical defensively, turn you over, play fast, but I expect guys like Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner to be able to handle that well and even potentially embrace it and kind of like beat McNeese at their own game. McNeese averages 17 turnovers a game, but personally, I just think Vandy's going to have this matchup and be just fine.
Yeah, Vandy feels underseeded as a 5 seed. They've been consistently good pretty much the entire year. Of course, started the season off really hot, unexpectedly, and then ended the season really hot, making it all the way to the SEC championship game and beating the number 1 seed of this region, Florida Gators. McNeese has played 2 tournament teams so far this season. They lost at Michigan by 41 points, and then they lost to 10 seed Santa Clara at Santa Clara by 12. Again, I think Vanderbilt's underseeded. I think there's a team that can very well get a rematch against Florida in the Sweet 16 and then just beat them again and be in the Elite Eight and maybe make a Final Four run. I really like the Commodores. I really have liked the way that they've played basketball this year, and I do think a huge part of them being hot at the right time, which is surprising to say considering how hot they started the season. They're hot again come the NCAA tournament.
Agreed.
I'm with the Vanderbilt Commodores here, and Amir No Aura Khan ends up losing, and the McNeese Cowboys go home.
Yeah, Vanderbilt started out as one of the hottest teams in college basketball. I think they were one of the last unbeaten teams. Is that right?
I do think they're up there, yeah.
So, a team that started out really hot and then finished SEC play is were they still a top 4 seed? I mean,
they were the 4th seed.
They were very good, but they were started out as the best in the SEC, and I don't know if they're still the best, but I think they're better than McNeese. So I'll go with Vanderbilt.
Sorry, McNeese. On to the 4 versus 13 matchup in the South region.
What a matchup it is.
Yep. Number 4 seeded Nebraska facing off against 13 seed Troy. Nebraska's looking yet again for their first ever NCAA tournament victory. They'll have to do so against Troy out of the Sun Belt. The big thing is, can Nebraska get their first NCAA tournament win? Play style wise, they're very great defensively. They play an interesting style where they basically no middle. They're not going to let you get the ball inside. They'll seed threes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do kind of try and work it inside, they'll trap, they'll double, they'll force you to pass out, and just make you take. They're good about forcing you to take the shots that they want you to take, and then they'll live and die by that, whichever way it goes. I will say they started off the season really hot, and down the stretch have not been horrible, but they faltered a little bit, kind of more so trading wins and losses instead of going on runs. And they have 3 losses in their last 7 games where they scored under 60 points, which is a concern for them. They're 55th on KenPom in offensive rating.
Yeah.
They don't have tons of offensive firepower. I like Price Sandfort, but aside from that, there's not tons of great scorers on that team. And they match up against Troy, which either of y'all have thoughts on Troy?
Troy's hot. They beat
Sure.
the GATA, the Georgia Southern Eagles, Golden Eagles, who made a run in the Sun Belt Gauntlet tournament, which is one of the tournaments that are set up where you may have to win 5 games in 5 days. And
Yeah.
Georgia Southern was on that track, winning 4 games in 4 days, and then couldn't get it done against Troy. And I watched that game. Y'all watched that game live on the air as well. At least that's what I heard last
Yes.
week. Victor Valdez, which sick name. He's up there, I think, in the all name category for me. Victor Valdez is, alliteration. Sick name. Troy this year is 1-0 against tournament teams. They beat Akron, who's a 12 seed. But they also got two other notable matchups. They beat the Mountain West Conference runner-ups, San Diego State, who is a bubble team right there on the outside looking in. And then they lost by just a point to Eric Musselman's USC Trojans, pre-Chad Baker-Mazzara leaving the team.
Before they lost like their last 7 games or whatever it was.
Both of those games, the score was 108-107 and 107-106. This is a Troy team that can score points. They scored 100-plus multiple times this year. And Jack just mentioned one of the weaknesses for Nebraska. They don't have a lot of scorers.
Yes.
I like Troy. I like the Troy Trojans. I think there's something about curses, and it just feels like maybe Nebraska is cursed.
Sure.
To not get that tournament win. And so give me Troy. I think it's a bad matchup. Of the 13 seeds, I think you could have got maybe a better matchup here. So I'm going to take Troy and the Trojans.
Yeah, Troy is the 3-point shooting's a swing for them. They have games where they're really hot, and they have stretches where they're really cold. And like I just said, Nebraska will let you shoot some threes. And so if they get hot, watch out. I want to highlight the brothers on the team, Kobe and Cooper Campbell, a pair of red-headed shooters, which is just quite the duo from Washington. I really wish I had talked to them and be like, how did you end up at Troy?
A lot of brothers in this tournament.
A lot of brothers in this tournament. And then another guy, Theo Sang, I don't know how to say his last name. He's a starter averaging 13 points per game for Troy, but he hurt his knee a couple weeks ago, and his status is unclear for the tournament. I also want to pick Troy just because it would be so funny if Nebraska yet again can't get it done. And I do think there's, like we've talked about, there's merit for that, as well as the factor of, like, Troy comes out early, hits a 3 or 2, they get like a 12-8 lead. How quickly does Nebraska's team, tighten up and the nerves get to them, and can they shake it off and keep playing their ball? I will pick Nebraska here because I really want to kick this decision over to Sanders and see what he has.
It's going to be a full-on home game. I'll go ahead and tell you that much, kind of. This game's played in Oklahoma City.
At this point, I think it'd be a home game for Nebraska no matter.
That was what I was going to mention.
I was in Memphis
Yes.
for the A&M game. That was last year. No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And it was a Nebraska home game. Go Big Red chants ringing around the stadium. Now A&M silenced them. Shout out Wade Taylor. But good game.
Shout out 4. I really want Nebraska to lose this game because
Wow.
I think it's so funny.
Yeah, it is.
I hold no grudge against Nebraska. I think, cool school and, their success in football and the history there is awesome. I don't have a grudge against them or anything. But it's just so funny. As someone who loves stories and sports, that'd be a wild story for them to have been a top 10 team at some point this season.
Yeah.
Another one of the last unbeatens. Them and Vanderbilt
Yes.
were two of the last unbeaten teams. For them to then still not be able to get a win in March, which is, I'm not going to lie, that's all I was thinking about 2 months ago when they were one of the last unbeaten. It was like, okay, but are they going to get a win in March? Because that's all that matters, and that's all I care about. And because JP has picked Troy to win, and because Nebraska has cooled off a little bit, and so I can make a semi-valid pick of Troy to beat Nebraska, I'm going to pick Troy.
Okay. Troy moves on. I love it. Still working our way down here. Next matchup, 6 seed North Carolina versus 11 seed VCU. Yet another 6-11 matchup where the 11 seed is gaining a lot of steam as a popular upset pick, and there's good reasons. The biggest one being North Carolina's best player, freshman phenom Caleb Wilson, is not playing in this tournament. He was hurt, and then I think he broke his hand ramping back up from the injury, so he's done. And then VCU, as always, has a quality ball club out of the Atlantic 10. So there's good reason to pick that upset. My concern off rip is, is this going to be a scenario where North Carolina is like, no, everyone picks VCU, and then North Carolina comes out and is like, no, we're so much better than just Caleb Wilson. Henri Vestar has good games. Seth Trimble has a really good game, and they just kind of take care of business. I also was burned by the Rams last year. I had them making the Sweet 16, and they lost in the first round. So a bit of a tough spot for me there. But thoughts on either of these teams?
Laser Djokovic add him to the
S tier
all-name team.
He's not a shooter though.
Not a
It's
shooter, no.
weird. He's a
It is.
6'10" guy from Serbia.
Yeah, for the name Laser, you would think he would be a shooter.
I mean, I think of the Latvian laser, Davis Bertans. That is not Laser Djokovic.
VCU has played 5 teams. Well, 4 teams. They played St. Louis twice, but 5 tournament games against tournament teams. They're 0-5 in those games. This is also like because of the Caleb Wilson injury. Of the 6 versus 11s, which we only know 2 of the spreads right now, this is by far the closest, and it's almost by far the closest of any matchup between a double-digit seed and a single-digit seed. North Carolina is favored by only 2.5 points here, and that is the effect of the Caleb Wilson injury.
Yes.
Which is making VCU and the Rams a very trendy pick. Also, VCU, very well-known name, a team that's made the Final Four with Shaka Smart way back in the day.
Before Shaka Smart got the yips.
I'm going to go with the Rams as a VCU. I am going to pick the trendy upset pick, and I'm also going to pick another 11 over a 6. I picked South Florida earlier. I'll take VCU as well.
Sure. One more thing on VCU. Terrence Hill is their leading scorer as their 6th man. He comes off the bench and averages a little over 14 points per game. I'll go VCU as well. I'll trust them yet again. Once again, I just think the ACC was weak. There is still other talent on this North Carolina team, and I was really excited to watch them with Caleb Wilson. But you just kind of lose the alpha of the team, you lose a huge front court presence. I'm worried about their tournament prospects because of that.
I was about to use my veto. About
Mhm.
to use my veto because I was just looking at North Carolina's talent. I was like, they have so many other guys that have got a lot of stars next to their names. But I went to my model and plugged it in, and not Vegas, not Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Sanders.
Vegas. Sanders has this game as a push.
Wow.
Literally,
Yeah.
I would technically have
You don't even
North
really,
Carolina as a 0.07 point favorite.
you
We'll
don't
give
really
them a
even
point and a
account
half
for injuries.
because
do
this
you?
I don't account for injuries, which is why I'm going to go VCU.
Yeah.
Because I figure he's got to be worth at least a point, right?
Yeah.
You know,
We should have got a big bracket for Yamont, and we could have just been filling it out like Obama used to fill out his brackets.
Shout out to Obama, man.
me and my family still like the paper ones you print out.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and my family did that every
I do
year
that
growing
too.
up.
I will have a printed out bracket this year. It's just better.
I think everybody does that.
In the 4th grade,
Not everyone.
my teacher, she got a bracket for me that we put on the door, and it was on her door to her classroom for the entire month of March.
That's fire.
And I filled in the teams that won. I didn't pick the bracket. but
Gotcha.
I
That's
filled in
still
the
cool.
teams that won. Same 4th grade teacher that did the cupcake thing with the Ravens
Yep.
and the 49ers.
So she just loves sports.
She does.
That's sick.
She also
Fun
gave
teacher.
me. She was the first teacher to call me JP,
Oh wow.
which is where
This
JP
is
started.
She's
the goat, Miss Crow.
I was gonna say
She was
this
the
is
goat.
like a core memory type teacher for
yes,
you. Like
absolutely.
That's sick.
an all timer.
Well, VCU moves on to the round of 32 after we all 3 pick them.
Yep. And now we get to another fun matchup, man.
It is.
3 seed Illinois will face off against 14 seed Penn. A bit of a shocker out of the Ivy, considering the past couple of years Yale has become such a force out of the Ivy and just always considered the best team. But in the Ivy League Championship Sunday morning, TJ Power had other things to say about it. Scored 43 points in an overtime win for Penn, including a stretch. He hits a 3 down 4 with like 9 seconds left to make it a 1-point game. They have to foul, obviously. Yale hits their 2 free throws, so it's back to a 3-point game. Yale decides not to foul up 3. He runs back down the court and cans another 3 to give him 40 flat with a second left, which Yale then proceeds to throw the ball in, and their 70-foot heave hits square on the back iron.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was going in, but then they go to overtime and Pennsylvania prevails. Because of that, like I think I've watched 6 minutes of Penn basketball this year, but I feel like I'm a Penn fan now through and through just from watching that.
Yeah, Power's 6'10". Like you said, he had 43 points. He was 7 for 14 from 3.
He
was also
42% from 3 on the season.
Yeah, he was 9 for 9 from the free throw line,
Mm-hmm.
which if you were watching the broadcast, you would understand why that's a big deal. He's a 62% free throw shooter, which is like bad.
Yeah.
But he was 9 for 9 in the conference championship
Stepped up
game.
when it mattered. Former 5-star.
Yes.
Really?
Started his career at Duke, I think, but just like never did anything. The crazy stat is he was at Virginia last year and scored 35 points all year, and then drops 43, and in one game this year to lead his team to the dance.
Yep. I think something to monitor, which this is going to, it doesn't help Penn that they have to play on Thursday, but their best scorer, Ethan Roberts, is more than likely. There's a chance he plays, but he had his second concussion of the year while practicing before their first game in the Ivy League tournament, and he did not play in the Ivy League tournament, and I don't know if he'll play against Illinois, and they will need him against Illinois because Illinois is a great offense.
Number 1 offensive rated team on KenPom.
Yes, they score very, very well. Did you mention Fran McCaffrey yet?
I was about to, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Fran McCaffrey, former coach at Iowa the last 15 seasons, so we kind of get like a pseudo Big Ten matchup here between Iowa and Illinois, but it's Penn. This is his alma mater. He played there and graduated from there in 1982, and he's led them back to the tournament for the first time since 2018. Something to look at is they'll sneak in a 2-3 from time to time situationally. They did it in the Ivy League championship game at least, and that's the only minutes I've watched of Penn as well, I will admit. But they did it against a Yale team that shoots the 3-ball well, and Yale shot the 3-ball well when they did it. Now when you go against Illinois, best offense in the country, I don't know how well the 2-3 is going to work there. But that being said, Fran McCaffrey, having coached at Iowa, understands Illinois' system, and maybe they can find some success. I imagine they'll be a very trendy 14-seed pick. Just like any coach who leaves the Power 5 and goes to one of these smaller schools. I think of like Rick Pitino when he was with Iona, in both of the tournament runs he had with them.
Yeah. I think it will be trendy. I don't agree with it. I really like this Illinois team.
Yeah,
and
same.
I think the team that will get Illinois is someone that can play physical on a Keaton Wagler and kind of get up in his grill and make him feel uncomfortable, and get some rebounds. And just, Illinois is not always the most physical team. They get pushed around a little bit. But I don't have any worries about Penn pushing them around. I'm going to be honest. And so I think Illinois is going to win comfortably here and just score a ton of points.
It's the biggest spread of the 14-3 matchups. As opposed to the Michigan State, North Dakota State. This spread is 24.5, which is a large sum, both in basketball and in football, and especially in baseball.
Soccer? I mean,
even
that is
more so with
unprecedented in soccer, I dare say.
Sanders, what say you? Do you want to use your veto and take the Penn, which their mascot is the...
I know. Does Jack know?
Is it the Quakers?
Yes, it's the Quakers.
I remember 2018. I think they were. You mentioned that's the last time they went. I think they played Kansas in the first round. Shout out the Quakers. I'm glad you didn't veto Penn because I didn't pick Penn. But that would mean we would have Troy, VCU, and Penn all advancing in a row.
Yeah, that'd be
so
a tough
it would
look.
become Cinderella row. Now VCU Penn would be an unreal round of 32 matchup.
It would be.
Yeah.
That'd be cinema.
But we're not going to get it.
No, I'm
Illinois moves on.
Going Illinois. Illinois legend R.J. Melendez.
Which brings us to the matchup that contains my team. As 7-seed St. Mary Gales will face off against the 10-seeded Texas A&M Aggies playing buckyball. And this is probably the biggest clash of styles in the first round. St. Mary's plays mega slow, and they're big. A&M plays really fast, is going to press, is going to try and force a ton of turnovers. And A&M starting center stands at a whopping 6'5". Now he has long arms, but I don't think long arms make up for 6'5". Some things to look out for. A&M has not fared well when playing other big teams. Biggest one that stands out is when Florida came to Reed Arena, and I think A&M had like 11 points at halftime, started like 1 of 24 from the field. So maybe St. Mary's just dominates the glass, and there's no contest there. But maybe the pace of A&M gets to St. Mary's, and St. Mary's starts turning the ball over. They get tired. The press bothers them. They're typically pretty disciplined, but you never know. A&M definitely has the athleticism edge there. And then A&M's also just going to rain threes. And you'll see stretches of buckyball games where they go on a 17-0 run in 2 minutes because it's like a three, and then they force a turnover out of the press, and they hit another three. So realistically, you can spin this game either way you want in terms of who's going to win the clash of styles. Height is probably the safer pick in terms of going with St. Mary's, but since I said I can spin it either way and I can pick my team, I'm going to take A&M to win this matchup.
Yeah, to speak on the bad matchup, St. Mary's got 2 7-footers that played big-time minutes.
We may see some Federico in this game,
Yeah.
which is not great if we're A&M.
Starting center, 6'5", long arms. Ruben Bain wishes he was built like him,
Yes.
I will say. So there's some flowers to your starting center there at A&M. St. Mary's has been like a team they've won games this year. Of course,
Yes.
every team wins games. But I'm saying they've won games against tournament teams. They've beaten Gonzaga this year. They've beaten Santa Clara. But at the same time, they've lost to Santa Clara twice. They lost to Gonzaga. They also lost to Vanderbilt by a wide margin as well. I would argue outside of Texas, this is probably the farthest you're going to get between a team you love and a team like you hate. Like
Yeah,
on
I
the
really
spectrum.
dislike St. Mary's.
Yeah.
I think I was very vocal about that last year.
So I'm going to pick A&M as well. I don't feel comfortable picking the Gales and St. Mary's. I may go and pick the Broncos later with Santa Clara, but I will take St. Mary's
Sure.
to lose to Buckyball and A&M. And I hope he gets – I would love for him to get some redemption for what happened when he was with Sanford.
Sanford robbed.
And the missed call. Maybe we see a missed call go A&M's way late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Also, looking a little more outside or, a little more general, I don't really feel bad taking my team considering whoever wins this gets Houston in the next round.
Yep.
And so that's probably just going to be
Y'all
a
played
Houston
Houston
victory.
2 years ago?
2 years ago, and we took them to overtime. Shout out Anderson Garcia, buzzer beater 3.
Mississippi State legend, Anderson Garcia.
NBA player Anderson Garcia got his first career start last night for the Utah Jazz.
Jesus, I did not know that.
3 points. I think it was 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. I was tuned in. I'm not going to lie.
As you should be.
Him and Oscar Shibwe were sharing the court.
What a front court.
The Kings beat him barely. DeMar DeRozan had 41. But yeah, I digress. This goes us to the last matchup of the first round, the round of 64 in the South, and that's 2-seed Houston versus the 15-seed Idaho.
Vandals.
The Vandals, correct. Any points about the Vandals here? I'm taking Houston. Houston's kind of been there, done that. You know what you're going to get. A team that plays well defensively, even if they're not quite as elite as they have been in recent years. They're still top 20, so it's like not really that big of a step back. Great backcourt play. Solid enough front court play to get past Idaho. I'm not too worried about this.
I don't think anyone's mentioned this from what I've heard, and I've watched a ton of people talk about the bracket so far, that we could see a national championship rematch in the Elite Eight between Florida and Houston.
Yeah.
To speak on Houston, they should be a 1 seed in my eyes personally. Now, who would I drop?
You probably have to drop Florida.
Probably would have to drop Florida, but I also feel like Florida is a 1 seed as well. I feel like there should be 5 1 seeds this year.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's kind of how it feels with Houston. So them being a 2 seed, they feel underseeded to me. They're very consistent, and I like them to handle the Vandals in Idaho and move on to the round of 32.
Sure. Well, let's get on to
Are
the
you gonna-
round of 32.
Did Sanders pick Houston?
Yeah, I picked.
I
I already wrote him in. I was like, let's get in.
No
there.
veto there.
No veto. I
no
think
vetoes yet, man.
I think I expect. I know where I'll be using my veto, but we shall see when we get there.
Well, also we'll remember that at
I
least that's
couldn't
what we
yet.
did last year.
Yeah,
you
you can
can't
only use it in the
circle around and veto in the first round. Like it's, we can finish filling out all the first rounds and be like, we can't because of the way we've done this actually.
Yeah.
So I take that back. You have to veto on the spot.
Yep.
Because last year we went all around of 64, then all around of 32.
Yep.
So change my mind. Just kidding. Round of 32 in the South, we have the 1 seed Florida facing off against the 9th seeded Iowa Hawkeyes. I think this is a bit of a nightmare matchup for Iowa. I'm not gonna lie, just considering what Florida has in the front court with Chinyalu, Condon, Hanlockton, Howe. Like I don't know who on Iowa is gonna handle that. I like Bennett Stokes. I think he's a good player. He honestly probably will be the best guard in this game, but I just don't think it matters. I think that Iowa's gonna get slaughtered on the boards, and it's gonna be game over.
Also, I just think Florida's going to have a good tournament from their guards as well. I feel like they kind of turned it around.
They've been trending up.
Yep.
They are still susceptible to like an occasional stinker or a no-show, but in general, they're shooting the ball better. They're running the offense better, which is all you can hope for.
That helps them is with how good their front court is. They don't have to step up every single time.
Correct. They don't have to step up. They can just like step up to like a B game, and that's probably enough.
Absolutely. So I think Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee might have a pretty good tournament, especially with how good their front court is there at Florida. I'm going to take Florida. I don't think there should be really any competition, regardless of who comes out of that 8-9. I just think they're so far behind Florida. I will be very surprised.
It'd be
Florida
true
loses that
madness
game.
if either of those get pulled off. So,
Yes.
completely agree with you there. Any different Sanders there?
Nope. Also Florida.
Cool. On to the next, and that is in the round of 32. 5th-seeded Vanderbilt facing off against a bit of a Cinderella, the 13th-seeded Troy, after they knocked off Nebraska in the round of 64. Vandy's a bit of a smaller team, once again led by their great guard play, can shoot the ball really well. They'll play fast. They can kind of go on runs whenever they want to, it seems. And then, Troy, we talked about them a lot. They will score a lot. They've shown to be competitive against other tournament teams when they played them in the regular season. For me, I do think this is where Troy's run ends. I'm a big fan of this Vandy team. And talk about Troy playing fast. I think Vandy can handle that, and I think Vandy can handle Troy shooting and kind of shut it down a little bit.
Yeah, no SEC bias here. I think Florida Vanderbilt is going to be the most picked Sweet 16 matchup out of anyone, and I will pick it as well. I'm all over Vanderbilt, regardless of who they play in the round of 32. I think they make it to the Sweet 16. And then I think we're going to have an interesting debate between the Commodores and the Gators.
Yeah, because we've seen them play before, so it'll be fun to.
It'll be a very good conversation.
Yeah, but I'll also go Vanderbilt.
Cool. Keep on moving down the line. The VCU Rams, as an 11 seed, will face off against the 3-seeded Illinois in the round of 32. Once again, the Rams are a quality team. I think they're a good 11 seed. We obviously like them enough to beat North Carolina. But I'll just be up front. I really, really like this Illinois team and what they bring to the table offensively, so that even if they maybe aren't an elite group defensively, and they're not, according to analytics, I don't really feel like they're a team that's going to get upset because of how good they are offensively and the amount of weapons they have. Keaton Wagler, Andrei Stojakovic, Kylan Boswell, the Avicic brothers inside, other people on that team as well. Like, say Wagler has an off day, right? They'll find other ways to score. They have other weapons, so I'm just not too worried about them getting upset by a lower seed.
Yeah, 5 guys that average double figures.
Yeah.
4 guys that average 13 or more. It is definitely a team that it's hard to see them get upset because there's so many guys that can give you a big day. What a matchup it would be between Lazar Djokovic and Andrei Stojakovic.
Yeah.
What a name matchup that would be. But I like the Fighting Illini as well. It feels like a really all the regions are good, but this feels like a really stacked potential region with the 4 teams that could be in the Sweet 16. I'm gonna take the Illini as well.
Yes, same. I don't think this is as strong as the region we just looked at.
I think this is the second best, in my opinion.
Okay. We'll see. We can, establish that more as we see the other 2 regions. But
we're about to get to the weakest region, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
The top left region, whatever region
top
that
right,
is.
it would be.
But no, the top left region was the strongest. I think we'll see.
Yes.
Whatever direction that's in. But I will be going with Illinois as well.
Cool.
Also, Harris just said it's crazy. There have been more women's brackets submitted than men's on ESPN.
That is crazy.
That's interesting. The cynic in me immediately goes to AI submissions because the women's bracketology is usually more chalked, and so people are just trying to win the money. I know
It's
that's
possible.
like wild conspiracy theory, but that just seems
I mean,
really
realistically,
weird.
there has to be some reason other than just popularity because it's
Not as popular.
Not
It's not as
disrespecting.
popular.
It's not as popular. So
So it just feels like.
that is still cool, and
Do you think
women's
there's-
basketball is growing?
I wonder if there's like bracketology farms out there. If there's like.
There could be. It's also just think there's a world where people are put less time into their women's bracket, so they just like
Get them
boom,
out.
boom, boom,
yeah,
boom, boom,
Yeah.
submit. And
Maybe.
the men's bracket, it's like no, like I need to sit, debate these matchups.
Yeah.
Still a very cool stat. I probably have UConn be winning my women's bracket.
That would be a good pick. I
Thank you.
could see it. I might end up picking Texas, but
I'll have A&M winning my NIT women's bracket as well.
good pick. Good pick.
The last round of 32 matchup, and this is a rematch of another round of 32 game we had a couple years ago. Texas A&M as the 10 seed versus Houston as the 2 seed. I'm going to be honest, I just don't really see A&M winning this game. I think Houston will just get in our face. We'll feel their pressure. It'll cause our three-point shooting to dip in a big way. We've shown this season that when teams are good offensively to get us off our rhythm, we don't really have guys that are like shot creators. That we have great shooters in that, like, the ball's moving around, the press is creating fast breaks, people are getting their looks, we'll knock them down. But when it comes to trying to play in the half court and against good defenses, we feel very bothered by contests and whatnot. And then also the size, I think Houston's physicality will show there. Even if they're not the biggest team either, they're bigger than us. So I feel very comfortable taking Houston to win this matchup and advance to the second weekend.
I'm taking the Houston Cougars as
Yeah.
well.
Same.
I like them in their matchup against the Aggies.
And I'd like to say, even if, say, we lose to St. Mary's, though I'm a St. Mary's hater, so I will be sad, this is very much feels like a happy-to-be-here season for A&M, given what
Absolutely.
Bucky McMillan came into and inherited.
Considering the roster.
2 minutes?
Yes.
Y'all had 2 returning minutes or
I think
something?
we had 8 minutes, and they were all non-conference blowout.
Okay.
And that he wasn't a scholarship player.
It was 8 total minutes,
Yes,
right?
and that's why he wasn't a scholarship player. So he did get into the SEC tournament game because we played so horribly that he tried to find some sort of spark. But
Now
that
what you
moves us
wanna
on
see?
to the Sweet 16, and we get the rematch that we've talked about multiple times already. 1-seeded Florida versus 5-seeded Vandy in the Sweet 16. They faced off most recently in the SEC tournament, and Vandy just quite honestly took it to Florida. I'm trying to pull it up right now and see what the final score is. 91-74.
Yeah. It was kind of a complete opposite of the other game.
Correct.
This year we're in Vanderbilt, where Vanderbilt was playing really well at the time, and it felt like Florida really took it to them. Florida won 98-94 in that game, a lot closer, but Florida really controlled that game almost all throughout. So a fascinating, a third-time matchup. I really love. It's one reason I love the NBA playoffs is because when it's a 7-game series, you have the chess pieces that can move as you play a team more often and more times. You learn a guy's tendencies. You have seen their offensive set 30 times now instead of 10 times, and so you already know where the play is going to go, and so it fully comes down to execution, and then who can have the day that day. And both these teams have got guys who can have the day that day, so this would be a fascinating Sweet 16 matchup if we got it.
Yeah.
But I'll let you all give some thoughts before I give my pick.
The first thing is, it's so hard to shake the game we just saw and what Vandy just did because it was so impressive and it was so dominant. And while Florida definitely has the front court advantage, I think an even just as much of a margin, potentially, Vandy has the backcourt edge with Tyler Nickel, Duke Miles, and they're fearless too. They don't care that they're smaller than Florida, and I think they know, or at least they think that they're better than Florida's guards, and they'll bring that confidence into this matchup yet again. And I think that's a really dangerous thing for Florida to have to grapple with, because if they don't get that under control early and they let Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles get going and let the team feed off that energy, it could snowball yet again. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. Anything, Sanders?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. I don't struggle to not throw out that last game, but okay, it's in the past. This is still a very good Florida team and a very well coached Florida team.
Correct.
Who's already beat Vanderbilt once this year, I believe in Nashville.
Yes, but Vandy still scored 90+ points in that game.
Right.
And then Vanderbilt beat them in Nashville.
Yeah, that's true. I guess neutral site game. Neutral site game. I forgot that the SEC tournament was in Nashville. Didn't they? Anyway, so I don't really think that bothers me that much, and I still think Florida's the better team in this matchup. So I'm gonna go and say I'm gonna pick Florida.
Sure, I'm taking Vandy.
I'm taking Vanderbilt as well. I think with the two matchups prior, Florida won't have felt tested, and I was going to use, in a spot like this, I would use an argument of, oh, well, I do think it's different this time because Florida has won 2 games prior to this and will come in rolling, as opposed to have just winning 1 game prior to them playing Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. I don't think it matters as much because I don't think Florida is going to feel any kind of test against the 2 worst teams in KenPom in the tournament that they'll play in the first round.
Yeah.
And then Iowa in the second round, which is just a bad matchup for Iowa. So I like Vanderbilt as well to beat Florida. I think this team is built well to maybe repeat as champions, but I do think they have a huge key difference. I don't think they have the guy they can trust down the stretch of a game,
Sure.
And especially in a high-scoring game like this. Now Thomas Howe has played really well this year and
Future
played
Spur.
well in big moments, but they don't have Walter Clayton this year, and I don't think they have Golden State Warrior legend Will Richard either, who had some really good games down the stretch last year as well. Now, Howe stepped up in some big moments already last year in last year's tournament, but I think Vanderbilt's ready for them. They got a good matchup with Florida clearly with the amount of points they've scored through 2 games, averaging 94.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Commodores.
And you think Vanderbilt's going to be tested after Troy and McNeese, the 12 and 13 seed?
Yeah. Amir Oracan and Victor Valdez.
Okay.
Tough matchups. Or they play Nebraska. The last thing I'll say, and this kind of general philosophy for me, is if I'm kind of 50-50 in a matchup, I think guard play wins in March. And so I'll probably just lean the team that has the better guard play, kind of what you were talking about, JP. Let's move on to the other Sweet 16 matchup.
Got a hater in the comments
Yeah,
section.
Lucy,
I know.
we started 2 hours ago.
A 53-year-old in the comment section.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucy
That's
Hallmark,
actually
1973. Oh, you don't know when her birthday is. She might still be 52.
True.
Could still be 52.
Kirsten as well. With
Yeah, literally came
with
in here. We got a
minors
mods
in the chat.
ban
That's
her.
crazy.
Ban her. Imagine. Welcome, Lucy.
She's probably gone.
It probably is. She probably was like, I'm not going to watch any more of this. We started 2 hours ago. And we're almost halfway done.
Big matchup here. A bit of clash of styles. Illinois and their elite offense versus Houston and their defensive-oriented team. 2 great freshmen that have risen up draft boards. Keaton Wagler versus Kingston Flemings. Once just should be a fantastic matchup. Lots of storylines. Lots of great individual matchups to watch. I do wonder if this is a matchup where Houston's lack of front court scoring gets to them. It's JoJo Tugler and Chris Sinak, and Sinak's a freshman. He's come along semi-well, but they don't really have a reliable option. They don't have someone they can throw it to in the post to go get him a bucket, for example. And I wonder if against the interior size Illinois has, even if they're not the best defensive team, if that's an issue. It's just something I'm looking at. What are y'all's thoughts on this?
Houston's not a small. Last year they didn't have a guy that bigger than 6'9". Was that or 6'7"? Was that the stat?
It's kind of similar this
my
year. But Jawan Roberts at least could still go get a bucket in the paint when they needed it. JoJo Tugler last year was just kind of a defensive specialist, was a fantastic defender, did the dirty work, got offensive rebounds. I think maybe they were hoping for a bit of a offensive leap from him this season. Not really. He's kind of the same player as last year, which is a great player, but doesn't really give him inside scoring presence. Similar from Chris Sinak, he's a guy maybe will shoot a 3, can maybe get a bucket in the paint, but it's just another guy that's going to be great on the offensive glass, great defender. another great piece to have, but there's just not consistent inside scoring. But the guards are great.
Yeah, I don't think Houston gets it done here. I think Illinois gets it done.
That's the way I'm leaning.
I
I thought I was about to make a left field pick, and y'all both picked before me. That's crazy.
while I do think Houston is an underseeded 2 seed, they haven't been great this year against really good teams. They're really their biggest win of the season is beating Kansas in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah.
I guess the other one you could count maybe beating BYU
Yep.
at BYU or earlier this
Beat
year.
Arkansas.
They did beat Arkansas, but Arkansas is a 5 seed, Kansas 4 seed.
They beat Oakland. Not Jack Golke's not there anymore, but
Sure. I like Illinois in this game. One thing that scares me, and Jack already kind of touched on, is I don't think they have a reliable guy they can go to down the stretch of a game, and I don't think that hurts them if they're leading in the final 5 minutes. But if they're trailing or being forced to trade buckets, I do think it hurts them. I thought that showed its head last year against Florida down the stretch of that game in the national championship. So I like Illinois to win this one.
Yeah. I mean, down the stretch, the ball's going to be put in Kingston Fleming's hands, and he's just going to have to go make a play.
Yeah.
He very well could. But I think Illinois is the team that, with each passing hour, I'm, falling more and more in love with as the team to make a run that's not like a 1 or 2 seed. Maybe spoilers there.
maybe.
That leads us to the Elite 8 matchup in the South region to finish off this region, and it's 5 seed Vanderbilt versus 3 seed Illinois, so a lot less chalky than our East region. This would be a matchup of fireworks, so much scoring, big time shot after big time shot. We've already talked about these teams multiple times, so I'm just going to go in and give my pick, and then maybe we can talk about how this maybe would shake out matchup-wise. But I like Illinois to win this game and make the Final Four.
I like Vanderbilt.
Okay.
I think Vanderbilt wins this one, makes the Final Four. Yeah, I'm going to take the Commodores.
Sure.
So good luck, Sanders.
JP, I swear this is not just to make it so that you don't have a team win for the
Feel
first
free.
time in 63 plus. Just did another you're up to 75, 80 games that you've now picked. Your pick has been the team that advanced. I'm going Illinois. My model is picking Illinois, and so for the first time in the history of this show, JP did not pick the team that the podcast picked. So I've got Illinois also in the Final Four. I would have picked Florida. Florida would have been. I'll go ahead and unfortunately, my model would have had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four.
Well, they're all 4 historically great 1 seeds that
Correct.
pass the benchmarks for real elite
Correct.
teams.
It is but it's sad when it's if you want to I want to use my model to pick my brackets. Well, this kind of sucks. It's hard to
Yeah, I kind of have a motto of I just kind of refuse to have all 4 1 seeds go to the Final Four.